Picture a high-stakes hostage negotiation. The
Yeah.
police are outside, uh, the negotiator's on the phone, and they say to the person barricaded inside, "I will help you."
Right. Yeah, that is a massive statement.
It is. Think about the weight of that sentence. I will help you. It's a promise. It's an ironclad commitment.
Exactly.
But imagine if the negotiator instead said, well, I can help you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that completely changes the temperature of the room, doesn't it?
It really does.
I mean, I can help you just means I have the ability, I possess the tools,
Right.
but it leaves the door wide open for that unspoken ending, that implied, but I might not.
Yes, exactly. And what if they said, I might help you, or I should help you?
It's a totally different scenario.
The entire psychological reality of that life or death situation hinges on, like, one tiny single-syllable word.
It's wild to think about.
And, we spend so much time obsessing over our vocabulary, trying to find the perfect impressive noun or the most dynamic action verb.
Oh, absolutely.
But the invisible current that actually dictates the mood, the politeness, and the whole power dynamic of a room comes down to a handful of these, grammatical invisible giants.
The modal verbs.
Yes.
Words like can, could, will, would, should, and must.
Exactly. The modals. And look, if you've ever studied a language, hearing a term like modal auxiliary helper verbs probably makes your eyes glaze over.
Oh, totally. It sounds like a highly technical car part or something.
Right. But the truth is, you use these words automatically all day, every day.
You really do.
So our mission for this deep dive is to look at a fascinating stack of linguistic research and actually pop the hood on these words.
I love that.
We are going to strip away the academic jargon and figure out how they are subconsciously manipulating your conversations.
Because once you realize how the mechanics actually work, it's honestly mind-blowing.
Oh, for sure.
These tiny helpers are doing an enormous amount of heavy lifting. They dictate whether you sound demanding or deferential, logically certain or completely doubtful.
And most of us have no idea we're even playing the game.
Exactly. We're totally blind to it.
So we're going to look at the hidden rules that govern them, build a mental map to separate the tricky ones, and explore how they construct the social etiquette we navigate, like every single day.
Sounds like a great roadmap.
But to really master this, we first need to look at why these specific words act like absolute rebels in the English language.
They really are rebels.
Because they break almost every standard rule we have, right?
They do. Linguists sometimes refer to their behavior as the 4 golden rules, which are basically the mechanical traits that make modals behave differently than almost every other verb.
Okay, 4 golden rules.
Yeah. And in the simplest terms, modals are helper verbs. They never work alone. They team up with the main action, like speak or go, to express the intent behind the action.
Right. I was reading through the source notes, and I couldn't help but think of them as VIP passes for the main verb.
A VIP pass. Oh, I like that. Tell me more about how you see that.
Well, think about regular verbs as people waiting in line outside an exclusive club.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
They have to deal with the bouncers. They have to follow a strict dress code, show their ID. They have to morph and change shape depending on who they're with.
Right, the standard conjugation rules.
Exactly. But when a verb gets paired with a modal, when it gets that VIP pass, it gets to bypass all the regular linguistic bouncers.
Yes.
It just walks right in, untouched.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Let's look at the first bouncer they get to skip.
Let's do it.
Golden rule number 1, there is no S added in the third person.
Right. So normally if you have the verb to walk, the bouncer says, hey, if the subject is he, she, or it, you have to put an S on the end of that verb.
Exactly. He walks, she talks, the dog barks.
But with our modal VIP pass, that rule just evaporates.
It completely vanishes. You never add an S to a modal.
Never.
Now, as native or fluent speakers, we intuitively know that saying she cans or he musts sounds absurd.
It sounds so wrong.
Right, but the reason why it works this way is actually a fascinating piece of linguistic history.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
There's a historical reason we don't say he musts.
Yes. So back in Old English, the ancestors of our modern modal verbs were actually past tense forms of other verbs.
Oh, wow.
And in Old English, past tense verbs didn't take an S ending for the third person.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, so over centuries, these specific words evolved to talk about the present and future, but they stubbornly kept their past tense grammatical armor.
They just refuse to adopt the S.
They absolutely refuse.
That is incredible. They are literal linguistic fossils hiding in our daily emails.
That's exactly what they are.
Okay, so what about the second bouncer they skip?
That would be the preposition to.
Right.
Normally, when we stick two verbs together in English, we use to as the glue. I want to go, I need to sleep.
But the modal VIP pass drops that preposition entirely.
Exactly. The modal crashes straight into the base, unmodified form of the verb.
So instead of I must to sleep, it's just I must sleep.
Right.
Or we should go. It's so much more direct.
It really is. And this is actually one of the most common mistakes people make when they are first learning English or translating directly from languages like Spanish or French, where verbs function differently.
Because the instinct is to translate it word for word.
Exactly. The instinct is to say, you should to study, or we might to go. But in English, the modal obliterates the two.
With one exception, right? The sources note that ought is the odd one out here.
Good catch, yeah. Ought to is the lone survivor.
Right.
You say you ought to see a doctor, but for every other modal, you drop it.
Okay, so no S and no to. What happens when we want to ask a question?
That's the third rule.
Because usually, English requires us to bring in entirely separate helper words, like do or does. If I want to ask about your hobbies, I have to say, do you play tennis?
Right, but modals don't need outside help. They just swap places with the subject.
You literally just invert them.
Yes. So if the statement is you can help me, the question just flips the first two words. Can you help me?
Right. You don't say, do you can help.
Exactly. You don't say do you can help.
It's almost elegant in its simplicity. You just mirror the structure.
It really is.
And I'm guessing this elegant simplicity applies to making negative statements too.
It does. That's the fourth mechanical rule. You don't need don't or doesn't.
Right.
You just attach not directly to the modal I cannot swim or the contraction I can't.
You bypass the clunky I don't can swim.
Exactly.
So those are the ground rules. They skip the S, they drop the to, they flip for questions, and they just take a not for negatives.
That's the summary.
Now that we understand the mechanics of how these VIPs operate, let's look at the actual roster.
Let's do it.
Since we don't have a whiteboard to draw a visual table for you listening at home, we're going to construct a mental map.
A mental audio cheat sheet.
Exactly. We need to compare pairs of similar verbs, because this is where the psychological nuances really start to shine.
Let's start with the most common pair. Can versus could.
Okay.
At face value, can is all about presentability. I can swim. I can speak English. You possess the skill right now.
And could is the past tense of that ability.
Yes.
Like I could swim when I was 5. It's looking in the rearview mirror at what was possible.
Exactly. Now let's map out the second pair. Will versus would.
Will versus would.
Will is your anchor for future certainty. When you say, I will call you tomorrow, you are making a solid promise.
It is an immovable fact in the future timeline.
Precisely.
Okay. And would is the counterpart.
Right.
The sources describe it as the past tense of will used in reported speech.
Right.
Like, she told me yesterday that she would help me today.
Yeah.
Or it's used for hypotheticals. Like, if I had $1 million, I would buy an island.
That's the standard textbook definition. Yes.
But wait, let me push back on that for a second.
Go for it.
If would is strictly the past tense of will, or used for fake hypothetical situations, what about nostalgia?
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
Huh.
Think about when people say things like, every summer when I was a kid, we would drive down to the beach.
Oh, I see where you're going.
That's not reported speech. And it certainly isn't hypothetical. That actually happened.
Ah, that is a fantastic nuance to pull out. You're completely right.
So what's happening there?
Would has this secret double life in English. It isn't just for hypotheticals. It is uniquely used to express repeated past habits.
So it acts almost exactly like the phrase used to.
Precisely. When you say my grandfather would tell me stories, it paints a picture of a repeating, almost ritualistic action in the past that has since stopped.
That makes total sense.
But there is a tiny, tricky limitation here. Would only works for action verbs in this context.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, you can say I used to be shy, but you cannot say I would be shy.
Oh, I would be shy. That sounds completely wrong.
Right, because be is a state of being, not an action, so the modal rejects it.
Oh, that's fascinating. I've never thought about why I would be shy sounds so incredibly wrong, but the logic holds up perfectly.
It's all about the mechanics.
Okay, so we have the mechanical differences mapped out. But here is where this deep dive gets deeply psychological.
Yes.
How do these modals change the actual tone of a conversation compared to informal equivalents?
This is where modals become the ultimate tools for hospitality and politeness.
Politeness, right.
Think about offering a guest a drink. You might use an informal alternative and say, "Do you want a cup of coffee?"
Which is totally fine if it's my brother. It's casual, it's direct.
It is. But compare that to swapping in a modal. "Would you like a cup of coffee?"
Would you like? It instantly feels softer.
It really does.
It feels like there's a saucer under the mug, you know?
Mhm.
It elevates the interaction.
That saucer under the mug is the perfect way to describe it. It adds a layer of social grace.
Yeah?
And you can scale that enthusiasm. If someone asks, "Would you like a cookie?" replying, "I would love one," carries a warmth and a social reciprocity that I want one completely lacks.
No, definitely. I want one focuses purely on your own appetite.
Exactly. I would love focuses on the relationship.
I see that clearly. It's the same dynamic when you are expressing a demand, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If you walk into a bank and say, I want to speak with a manager, you sound like you are gearing up for a fight. It's aggressive.
Very aggressive.
But if you walk in and say, I wish to speak with the manager, suddenly you sound highly formal, restrained, and intensely professional.
The core meaning, your desire to see the manager, is identical.
Right.
But the psychological wrapper you put around it changes how the bank teller is going to react to you.
Which brings up a perfect real-world application. Navigating social etiquette is basically a minefield of trying to use the right psychological wrapper.
It really is a minefield.
And the most common place we do this is when asking for permission.
The permission spectrum is brilliant because it shows how we instinctively scale our language based on power dynamics.
Okay, let's walk through that.
We can actually track this through a progressing storyline of a normal day.
Let's do it. Let's say you're at work and you start the day talking to your work best friend.
Okay.
You just need to jot something down. You turn to them and say, can I use your pen?
Right, so can is your baseline. It represents informal permission among equals.
There's no threat to the hierarchy, so you don't need extra padding.
Exactly.
Right. But an hour later, you're in the copy room and you need to move a huge stack of paper.
Okay, different scenario.
A coworker from a different department, someone you know but aren't super close with, is walking by. You wouldn't just say, can you help me?
Right.
You would probably say, could you help me with this box?
Notice the subtle shift. We moved up the ladder of politeness from can to could. We added a bit of padding because the relationship isn't as tight.
Okay, fast forward to the afternoon. You have a personal emergency and need to ask your boss for a schedule change.
High stakes now.
The stakes are much higher. You approach their desk and say, could I leave a little early today?
Again, we are using could as a softer, more respectful request. But there's a massive psychological mechanism at play here.
Okay, wait. You might be wondering at home the exact same thing I'm wondering right now.
What's that?
We established 10 minutes ago that could is the past tense of can.
We did.
So how on earth does could I leave early today work? Why are we using a past tense word for a request happening right now in the present?
It is one of the most beautiful, subtle quirks of the English language. When we use the past tense form, could, for a present request, we are artificially creating distance.
Creating distance, like pushing the person away.
No. Psychological and temporal distance.
Oh, I see.
Think about it. The present tense is immediate. It's right in your face. Can I leave is demanding because it exists right here, right now.
Right.
By shifting the verb into the past tense, you create a buffer. It softens the request by making it feel less urgent, less demanding of an immediate yes or no.
Wow.
In human psychology, grammatical distance translates directly into social respect.
That is absolutely wild.
Mm-hmm.
We are literally using time travel to be more polite.
We really are.
We throw the request into the past to take the pressure off the present moment.
Exactly. And if we keep moving up our spectrum to peak formality, we reach the boardroom.
Okay, let's go to the boardroom.
You need to interrupt a very serious closed-door meeting that your boss is having with the CEO. You knock, you crack the door.
You don't say, can I come in? Or even, could I come in?
No, you say, may I come in?
May I come in?
Yes.
Yeah.
May is the absolute zenith of formal permission. It shows ultimate deference to the authority of the people in that room.
It acknowledges that they hold all the power to grant or deny the request.
Exactly.
And the inverse of that is granting the permission.
Right.
If you think about a professor addressing a lecture hall full of nervous students waiting to take a final exam, the professor looks at the clock and says, you may begin the exam now.
It's authoritative. It clearly establishes who holds the keys to the castle.
So from, can I use your pen with a buddy, to, you may begin from an authority figure. It's all the exact same underlying action,
It is.
entirely controlled by which VIP pass you hand the verb.
Precisely.
Now, politeness is great, but life isn't just about asking nicely for things. Modals are also the heavy hitters we use for life's intense moments, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Rigid laws, Sherlock Holmes-level deductions, and deep personal regrets.
Let's start with the heavy hitter of obligation, when you have to do something.
Okay.
The two heavyweights here are must and have to. And while they seem interchangeable, there is a profound difference in where the pressure is coming from.
Let me guess. One is internal pressure and one is external.
Spot on. Must generally originates from the speaker's own internal compass.
Interesting.
If you say, I must finish this report tonight, nobody is holding a gun to your head. You feel the personal internal weight of the obligation.
So have to is the external force.
Exactly. Have to comes from rules, laws, or inescapable circumstances. You have to have a license to drive a car.
It's not my personal moral feeling, it's the state law.
Right.
That makes total sense in the positive form. But the research notes practically flash red warning lights about what happens when you make these negatives.
Yes.
If you get the negative forms of must and have to confused, you could end up in a really awkward social situation.
Oh, it causes massive misunderstandings. Because while must and have to mean roughly the same thing, their negatives are polar opposites.
Okay, break that down for us.
Let's do it. Mustn't or must not means strict absolute prohibition. You mustn't touch that wire.
So it means do not do it or there will be disastrous consequences.
Exactly. Prohibition.
Okay. But what about don't have to?
Don't have to means the action is completely optional. You don't have to come to the meeting.
It removes all obligation.
Yes, you can come if you want to, but no one cares if you don't.
Wow. Okay. So imagine you are hosting a dinner party. Your friend calls and asks if they should bring a bottle of wine.
This is a great example.
If you reply, oh, you mustn't bring wine, you are literally forbidding them.
Right.
You're saying, if you bring wine, I will be deeply offended.
Yes.
But if you say you don't have to bring wine, you're just being a gracious host, letting them off the hook.
Precisely. Mixing those up completely alienates your friend.
Okay, let's pivot to a totally different use for must, which is deduction. I love this one because it makes you feel like an investigator looking at clues.
Yes. In the context of deduction, must loses all its meaning regarding rules or obligations. It becomes entirely about looking at evidence and arriving at a 95% logical certainty.
Right, so imagine Sherlock Holmes.
Okay.
He looks at a suspect who has mud on his boots, a specific type of soot on his jacket, and a train ticket stub in his pocket. Sherlock says, "You've been traveling all day, you must be exhausted."
Perfect.
Sherlock isn't commanding the guy to be tired. He isn't saying it is the law that you are tired. He is deducing it from the evidence.
It's a mathematical conclusion in sentence form.
Exactly.
And the opposite of that, when you are 95% logically certain that something is utterly impossible, is can't.
Can't. Okay. So you look out the window and see someone walking up the driveway. Your spouse says, "Is that your brother?"
Right.
You look at the person who is 5'2". Your brother is 6'4". You say, "That can't be him. He's much taller."
You are deducing an impossibility based on the visual evidence. So, must for logical certainty, can't for logical impossibility.
It's amazing how we use these words as Swiss Army knives.
They really are.
Now, we have one final heavy hitter to discuss, and this one really packs an emotional punch. It's the mechanics behind the word wish.
Wish is a beautiful, melancholic word because it pairs with different tenses to express entirely different flavors of regret or desire.
Let's analyze the first combination. When you pair wish with the simple past tense, you are actually expressing a present regret.
Yes. Think of the phrase, I wish I had more free time.
Okay.
You use the past tense word had, but you aren't talking about yesterday. You are complaining about your life right now. Or, I wish I were taller.
It's a present reality that you hate, wrapped in past tense grammar.
Exactly.
But what if you actually are agonizing over something that happened in the past?
For that, you need the past perfect tense. I wish I had studied harder for that exam.
The exam is over. The failure happened in the past.
Yes, you are looking back with hindsight and remorse.
So wish plus simple past is, I hate my current situation.
Yes.
Wish plus past perfect is, I deeply regret what I did yesterday.
You got it.
And there is a third combination. Wish plus our old friend, would.
This combination is exclusively for complaining about someone or something else's behavior.
Like, I wish you would listen to me.
Exactly. Or, I wish this rain would stop.
Yeah.
You are deeply annoyed, and you want an external situation to change.
Which brings us to the final ironclad rule and the mistake people make when they get too introspective.
This is a big one.
We never use wish plus would when talking about ourselves.
Never. It is grammatically and psychologically invalid to say, I wish I would stop procrastinating.
Why?
Yeah.
Why does that break the system?
Because would, in this specific context, implies a demand for a change of will from an outside autonomous force.
Oh, I see.
You are demanding that the universe or another person change their behavior. You cannot demand a change of will from yourself in the third person. You are you.
Right.
If you are frustrated with your own lack of ability or willpower, you have to use could.
So I wish I could stop procrastinating.
Exactly, because could focuses on ability, not a demanding of will. Or you just use the simple past, I wish I were more productive.
It's like the grammar itself is enforcing personal accountability. You can't outsource your own willpower to a modal verb.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, we have covered a massive amount of linguistic ground today.
You really have. We went from the rigid ancient mechanics of how these words skip the linguistic bouncers all the way to the emotional weight of hindsight and regret.
So what does this mean for you navigating your life this week? It means you aren't just blindly using these helper VIP passes anymore.
You're doing it with intention.
Exactly. You now have an intuitive X-ray vision of how to manipulate the tone of your world.
Yes.
You know how to use temporal distance to soften a request with your boss? You know the exact mathematical difference between deducing a clue and demanding an action. And you know how to express your regrets without breaking the rules of accountability.
You've moved from just speaking English to actually conducting it, like an orchestra.
Beautifully said. And I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to ponder. Tomorrow, I want you to actively listen to the people around you. Your manager, your partner, the politicians on the news.
Pay close attention.
Pay attention to how changing just one single modal verb completely shifts the psychological power dynamic of their relationship with you.
It becomes glaringly obvious once you tune your ear to it.
Think about the massive difference in weight, authority, and emotional reality between a manager looking at you and saying, you can do this project,
That's empowering. They are affirming your capability.
versus them saying, you should do this project,
Now it's advice. It's a strong suggestion, maybe with a hint of pressure.
versus them staring you down and saying, you must do this project.
And suddenly it is an absolute, undeniable command. Your autonomy is gone.
Three completely different realities,
Yeah.
all resting entirely on a single three-letter word. These tiny words are the invisible electricity that brings the room to life. So go out there, grab your VIP passes, and start playing the game.